I'm a big fan of music because of you. Like, I mean, I can name bands that people don't never heard of, or I can name bands that only certain people have heard of, and they really know I know my shit when I name these bands. They're like, yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, who comes to mind? I just think Rush, Twisted Sister, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. I mean, even stuff into like Creedence Clearwater Revival and bands from the 70s. Just a wide spectrum of music tastes.
Put the wider part on the side. Oh, they well, I guess trying to remember Chicago
Yeah.
was probably the beginning for me.
Beginning of,
Uh,
of what? Your music journey? No, you didn't listen to music before
get,
that?
getting yeah, 1968. Chicago is what started me off.
Oh.
I've had that question asked numerous times. Um, the next would be CCR because that was high school. Was what 14. That was 1970. But yeah, I was listening to Chicago when they first came out. Chicago Transit Authority, their
Okay.
first album, and yeah, that was how I began musically.
Wow.
Away from um, what was back then was WABC. It was a pop station, pop rock,
Yeah.
and
Like what?
Chicago started me on FM radio.
So like what on the pop stations was like you're like, no, I don't listen to radio at all. I hate radio. So like what was on the stations that you were like, I'm not I don't like this stuff.
Bread. Um, well, it was the '60s. It was all I don't know. There's some of it I still listen to. I still like it, but it was just it was pop. it was just pop, and oh, I don't know how the hell I ever heard Chicago because it wasn't played on that station,
Right.
and I don't remember how I was turned on to Chicago. But the minute I heard their first album, listening to Terry Kath was like unbelievable. What was I, 12 years old,
That's
and
what I'm
all I
saying,
can remember
68.
this guy had more talent than I had ever heard before. Well, obviously, he was more of a rock guitarist than what I had listened to. And then in 1969, right, was Woodstock. Uh, Jimi Hendrix had said he had gone to see Chicago at a concert, and he went up to James Pankow, and he's the trombone player. And he told Pankow, he said, "Your guitarist is better than me," and just I've loved Terry Kath ever since. I mean, the guy was phenomenal, just phenomenal guitarist. That's what turned me on to Chicago, which turned me on to listening to FM radio, which turned me on to Lynard Skynyrd, CCR.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, so this is up north.
Yeah,
So you got
yeah,
into like some like Skinner and shit, but while you lived in New York.
yeah. Your mother did that.
That's different. Why? I like because I didn't get into like Jackal or Zach Wild band until I lived in Florida. Being in New York, I was listening to like so you can understand how I got so heavy. Like you had me listening to Guns N' Roses when I was like 11. So then I got into Metallica, and I remember at first you were like you wouldn't even let me wear or listen to Metallica. It was too heavy. You were like nah. And then you finally like Black Album. You were like, all right, these guys are all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, they went a little bit more commercial with the Black Album,
yeah.
which is what turned me on to them. And then I started listening to the older stuff,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, they were pretty
They were fucking sick, yeah.
good. So I started listening to older stuff, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. Um, but yeah, it was all from the I was 12, from the time I was 12 years old, and then I think what the hell was I, 19, 20? That's when I got introduced to metal.
And what
Uh,
how was that?
made just change of music. I still listen to progressive, which is where you go from Chicago and CCR, and then I got into progressive like progressive bands in the late '70s, and then in the '80s, Priest and Maiden, and then what the hell was the others? God, my brain is getting freaking old, man. I mean, I could name a zillion bands that we used to listen to back then. It was all about the metal.
Yeah.
Just kept going.
Oh, the matter of fact, let's see. Watch this.
Karen, what's? Oh, Tesla was another one that I love.
That's they're not metal. I'd consider them hard rock.
Yeah, back then they were in the metal because they were harder than progressive.
Every day.
She listens to Tesla every day.
No, they're a great band. A great progressive rock
What's
band, I would call. Nah, I mean,
no, they're harder than progressive.
we've had this talk before. Like, where's the line? Is it Zeppelin or Judas Priest? And some people say Zeppelin because of the guitars. It was a metal feel, but
The introduction.
but Judas
to
Priest
metal,
was metal. Like they were like
metal. Right.
they had the lifestyle and the sound, whereas Led Zeppelin was still rock and roll looking 70s, almost hippie-ish, but metal guitar, right? Harder guitar.
They were based in blues when they first came out. Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Blues, and I'm trying to remember what song, where it was, but the guitar was definitely metal. And Page, it was an introduction to metal. So Zeppelin is where metal started, but they weren't called metal. They were just called hard rock. Priest would be the beginning of metal, where people actually acknowledged the word metal.
Yes. And the lifestyle of what metal.
And the lifestyle.
Yeah.
That went. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Crashing rooms and all the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, the clothing, I think, even like the stage presence of the leather, the studs, and the metal, like Kiss. I would consider. You can say Kiss is rock and roll, but they had like a metal lifestyle,
Oh yeah, absolutely, with the makeup and the whole 9 yards.
So
with makeup was still not a glam rock; they were metal.
All right, we got 10 minutes. What do you think? Do you think they were metal? Kiss was metal?